Samora, some of the greatest artists, activists I know personally, really about that life, really in the streets. And so I just want to welcome y'all to the class first and foremost. So if all of my students can unmute their mic, and we're going to do a welcome bomb to just get us into the space. I'm going to say 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to welcome you. And 5, 6, 7, 8, unmute. Welcome.
We're excited to have you.
To have you see all of the Right, that's our little welcome. So what we're gonna do next, as you can tell, this is not your typical academic classroom. What we're gonna do right now is called a radical embodied check-in. And so what that looks like, you're gonna say your name, you're gonna say your pronoun, you're gonna say what sacred land you're on, but most importantly, you're gonna say how you're really feeling in this moment. I know often people are just like, hey, how are you? And then keep going. But the how are you is really important in this class. So after that, what you're gonna do is your favorite social dance. Y'all ready? To your favorite affirmation. Is everyone here, understanding what an affirmation is? Yeah, I'm gonna give you an example. So I am love. I am love. Yeah, okay. So you're gonna be your own soundtrack, right? So, in hip hop culture, we sometimes have no music, right? So our affirmation is our music, right? So I'm gonna say 5, 6, 7, 8. You're gonna say your name, you're gonna say your pronoun, you're gonna say the sacred land you're on, and you're gonna do your favorite social dance move to your affirmation. Are y'all ready? All right, I'm gonna say 5, 6, 7, 8, and everyone goes at the same time because all voices are heard and we're all gonna just be in the cipher, all right? Perfect. And 5, 6, 7, 8, and move. Hello. I am
Very glad to be here today.
I am love. All right, that was really funny. Y'all did a great job with that. So what we're gonna do next is we do not start any of our classes without a meditation. And so this one in particular is really, really dope. I'm welcoming Tef Poe and Samora to the class, and I'm welcoming you to Collective Freedom Dream with us. Especially you are already freedom dreaming with your story, in the art that you do, as well as, what I see your vision is and how you show up in the world. I know y'all personally, so you're already freedom dreaming. But I'm gonna take you through a little bit of an exercise to embody those freedom dreams. And so what we're gonna do next is have everyone close your eyes. Okay, and I'm gonna put on some music and we're gonna follow our natural breathing. And then we're also going to do an exercise that helps us get to what we wanna shift, as well as the skills that we will take to shift them, and then finally into the senses in our bodies. And so before we close our eyes, actually, I wanna show you something. Actually, open your eyes before you close your eyes. I want you to rub your hands together at a certain point. And then after that, you're going to put your hands up like this. So I want you all to look at me so you can see. And then when you put your hands up like that, you're going to be sending that energy of the love energy directly to the people that you see in your mind's eye, but also right in front of you, right? So I'm going to say, rub your hands together. And when I say rub your hands together, then you know what I'm saying that for. Okay, so let's get to it. So I'm gonna put on the Insight Timer, which is one of my favorite teaching tools that I use. And yeah, let's hear it. So if you can close your eyes and follow your natural breathing. Imagine a bright light the top of your head, going all the way through your body, down through your feet, and to the root of Mother Earth. And as we speak of roots, let's have our roots connect to each other. Now I want you to think of the things that you wish to have already shifted. What is that shift? Where are you? Take yourself there. If you can't see it, maybe you feel it. Do you feel the sun on your face? Are you in a tropical place? Follow your breathing and take yourself into that shift. Are you walking on the beach with your family, full of joy, full of sunlight? Your dog jumping at you, wagging its tail. Now I want you to think of the skills that you have. If we've achieved freedom at this moment, what post-apocalyptic skills do you have? Are you cooking for the family? Are you fishing? And finally, what are your senses telling you? What does this place smell like? Ocean's breeze. I know y'all can probably tell I'm at the beach right now. Is the sand under your toes? And I'm gonna let you sit in this space with your senses. Now I want you to place your hands on your heart and drop into your heart space with these senses. Feel it in your body. Okay, and finally, I want you to rub your hands together and make sure, if you can, put your video on if it's already not on. Rub your hands together. And on 3, we're gonna connect. And 1, 2, and 3, connect. This feeling of freedom and liberation. And who are you looking at right now? Send that freedom dream to that next person. All right, now I want you to rub your hands again one more time, and then on 3, you're going to look at the next person on your screen and connect. 1, 2, and 3, and look at someone on your screen and connect that freedom dream to that person on the screen. Beautiful. Beautiful. My hands are shaking from the energy, like literally pulsating. All right, and release. And you can, if your eyes are not already open, you can open them. All right, that was beautiful. Okay, so I want to welcome Tef Poe, born Kareem Jackson. He's an African-American MC, multi-genre artist, multi-genre artist, educator, and revolutionary. I was trying to skip to the revolutionary. He's also a co-founder of Harvard University's Commonwealth Project. He is also a Harvard University Harvard University American Democracy Fellow and Harvard University Nasir Jones Hip Hop Fellow. Tef Poe is currently the creative lead for Black Men Build. He has also served as a United States Cultural Ambassador to the country of Jordan through the Next Level Exchange Program with the U.S. State Department and Meridian. Poe is currently signed to the New York-based label Tommy Boy's Record. In 2014, he joined Killer Mike, LP, and DJ Trackstar for the Midwest regional leg of the Run the Jewels World Tour. He has shared stages with Talib Kweli and Yasin Bey, Mos Def. He has performed on stages with Nipsey Hussle, Lupe Fiasco, Big Crit, Starface, and Stevie Wonder. Everyone unmute your mic again and just give a welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Right, and I'm gonna pass it off to you. I was like stuttering through that because my energy is still like this from that exercise. It's never been, I'm telling you, Samora and Tef, y'all have something powerful because I can literally feel it in my body right now. Like I'm like this. So just thank you. I love y'all so much. Thank you for being here. Tef, go ahead and take it away. I'm gonna mute myself. Unmute, baby. Unmute.
Peace. I don't even know where to start, man. I've never been in an academic setting like this.
We family. This is family in here. You got this.
You were right when you were trying to preface us with like, yo, this is like nothing that you will ever see, experience. And you were definitely right. Would you like for me to start off with some storytelling about myself, or where should we take it?
You are the guest lecturer. You take us on this journey. We're here to listen to you.
All right. Peace, everybody. My name is Tef Poe. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I've lived here all of my life. My family has lineage and ties to Mississippi. They migrated to Missouri, like a lot of families did, coming out of slavery, trying to go north. Some folks stopped at Memphis. Some folks would stop at Little Rock. Some folks were, focused on getting to Chicago. Other folks were focused on getting to Detroit. And my family a lot of people in my family stopped here. A lot kept going, more up, towards like Chi-Town in Detroit. But a lot of them settled here and in Memphis. Memphis is only 3 hours away from here, so we have very similar cultures, even though theoretically St. Louis is the Midwest. We consider it to be up south, because we're not like the rest of the Midwest to some extent. So I grew up basically 10 minutes from where Mike Brown got killed. So I know those streets very well. I actually live in that neighborhood. I stay around the corner from where he got killed. After I went around the world for like 6 years after the Ferguson uprisings, and just trying to find myself and place myself in places that I found deep interest and reverence, and not realizing that I needed healing to some extent after going through such traumatic experiences with the uprising. We were outside for over 300 days going at the police. And I use very provocative language about law enforcement. So typically I would say the word pigs. We were outside for over 300 days going at the pigs because they did something wrong. They left somebody dead in the street for 4.5 hours. In this city, that's not, getting shot by the police isn't that big of a deal, unfortunately. But what made that situation so peculiar was the fact that they left him in the street for that long. And I just knew that there was a cover up and all types of just bogus, illegal stuff going on with that. But what made it also unique was the fact that at that time, I felt like Facebook for Black folks in St. Louis was in a really special place. This is before a lot of like the super algorithm manipulation, and when you could kind of sort of still have like a community of folks you knew and interacted with in your real life, citywide on Facebook. So I felt like a lot of us had watched this all unfold on Facebook from the top of the day to the point where it just went crazy. Because I remember just seeing statuses, people asking what was going on, folks saying they were headed down there. In St. Louis, everything is like, you can get to everything within 15, 20 minutes for real. Like if you got to drive 30 minutes, you really wilding. You just out here. So, you know, it was only like a jump away from my house. Same situation for a lot of other people. But I ended up going after being in my house all day, kind of just not really taking it serious, unfortunately. I just was like, yo, people get shot by the police all the time, man. Like they're gonna go outside, they're gonna march for a little bit, some people gonna come down there and pray, and then that'll just be that, you know what I mean? But the social media component to this really made it feel like it was a prophetical moment. It made it feel like it was I felt like I was living in a moment from like the book of Revelations. So I ended up leaving and going down there, and me and my manager were roommates at the time. And we were home on like a layover from being on tour. We were on tour with Murphy Lee from the St. Lunatics. Go figure. But we were on a layover. So we would come home like every weekend. The tour was designed so that we would come back home like from Thursday through whatever day and then leave back out by Monday. But so I wasn't really interacting physically with the city in a certain type of way at that point in my life. I was gone, I had been traveling. I still had deep ties with the fast food workers movement. And that was really important to me because I think this is a piece of the story that people don't talk about often because not too many people actually know it. But the Fight for 15 movement was so critical to there being organized young people in the streets at that time. So many of the folks that I used to see in the street when I started going out there were fast food workers who were down with the unionized movement, and they were learning how to organize through the labor unions. And even if they weren't learning to organize, the fire to be outside was sparked in them because the Fight for 15 movement was just the most radical shit we had ever seen in St. Louis. Like people who making $7.50 an hour asking for $15 an hour, and y'all got the nerve to walk off your job. Like they were like walking off jobs. They were shutting down McDonald's. We went to the fucking McDonald's shareholders meeting in Chicago with a bunch of nationwide fast food workers. And we had a really good time, but it felt like, in retrospect, the shareholders meeting felt like a baby Ferguson because we had like helicopters above us. They had the SWAT team. And the thing is, people think that, I feel like white folks think Black people don't retain things from our lived experiences sometimes. So like, you see a bunch of people at a shareholders meeting turning up, and they go back to their homes, and then they're shutting down more restaurants. They're going to the state capitol, shutting down state capitol meetings. They're becoming gradually more and more politicized. And by this is like July when I'm like out there with the fast food workers, May, and then by August, you got a full-fledged revolution in St. Louis for what it's worth. So it's like, I can't discredit those. I can't say that did not play a very intricate role in like people coming outside, because there were folks already outside, even when it wasn't a popular thing to do. Because that entire movement was vilified by folks, even Black people. They was like, why the hell y'all want $15 an hour? That's stupid. So but the resistance to the police was built on the backs of those young folks and poor people who went outside. And so fast forward, I get to, you know, I'm going to Canfield, right? And when I get out there, it's just commotion, but I see things that you just don't see if you've lived in St. Louis all your life. If you lived in this city all your life, I instantly see things that we would have been like, oh shoot, this is the apocalypse. If you saw it with the right vision, you were like, oh snap, this is not normal, bro. So first thing I saw, from first grade to fourth grade, I lived in Pine Lawn, which is actually the neighborhood that Mike Brown is from. He's not from Ferguson. His grandmama from Ferguson. He was at his grandmama's house. So from first grade to fourth grade, I lived in a neighborhood called Pine Lawn. That's where most of my family is stationed in St. Louis. August 6th, the year before this incident, they named a day after me in that neighborhood in honor of the work that I had been doing throughout the city. But that's really obsolete, but I only make a note of it because every year now I just feel guilty being alive and having a fucking day named after myself and being from the same neighborhood as this dude, you know what I mean? And we don't even know what became of his story. So I don't even like acknowledge the day for real. We used to acknowledge it. We wanted to acknowledge it, but it's real iffy for me. Like it's just a weird thing that I haven't really figured out how to engage. But so, you know, so that's the neighborhood that Mike is from. When I'm driving into the area to trying to access the area where all the stuff is going down on the street called West Florissant, I see a cop from Pine Lawn blocking the area. Pine Lawn cops aren't typically allowed to police in that area. It's just a totally different neighborhood. That's like dropping a Compton cop in like, I don't even know how to explain it, like Malibu or something. Like you were like, yo, what are you doing here? So like, we have 91 different municipalities of police in this city because the way the city is set up, it goes directly back to slavery. There's no way to argue it. If you do the research on it, you do the math on it, it is concretely a segregationist plan to keep people filibustered and away from each other, to hyper gentrify neighborhoods, to just keep Black people economically fucked up. So we have 91 different police precincts. I mean, that's 91 different jails. That's 91 city halls. That's 91 chances for your ass to get locked up in the same damn day because they're not in sync. So like you do something in this precinct, the next precinct can still charge you. It's just hella oppressive. So Pine Lawn cops are not supposed to be in Ferguson, period. They just not. So as I'm driving into Ferguson, I see a Pine Lawn pig like trying to direct traffic. And I'm like, yo, what the hell are you even doing here? So from that point on, I just knew it was gonna be crazy because I was like, yo, the police are calling other police. Like this gotta be nutty for them to be calling other police. You know what I'm saying? Like, since when do they not have enough police that they need other precincts to get involved? So I was like, yo, this is bananas. But I don't think everybody was peeping it like that. So, at this point, man, nothing was really going on. The people were just outside because who wouldn't be outside if you live in this neighborhood and it's a dead body? It's just outside, right? Like some of this stuff is just straight up logic, man. Like it's logic, but then I also realized that society is fleeced with cowardice. So a lot of people will legitimately see a dead body in the street and don't go outside. Like the fact that people here were outside like, yo, what's good is actually abnormal because most people wouldn't even give a damn. So, but it took me to learn how the world functions to realize that. So, man, we go down there, long story not so short. We go to the area. I heard all this noise about the Quick Trip. I go to the Quick Trip, nothing was going on at the Quick Trip. People were like, yo, they about to blow the Quick Trip up or something. It was some crazy stuff people were talking. I was like, well, I go to the Quick Trip, nothing's going on at the Quick Trip, right? People just getting gas. There's more people in this neighborhood than typically there would be but that's because on social media, everybody is talking about this at the same damn time. So the cops are responding to just the sight of Black bodies being in the area in mass amount after they killed somebody in a straight up aggressive way. Like I see them on the side of the road putting on bulletproof vests, they getting dogs, they pulling out rifles out of vans. There's all types of just crazy stuff going on. It was like something out of a movie, man. Like it was like they were preparing for doomsday. And at this point, nothing had even happened. Like I heard all this commotion about the Quick Trip, but I went up there, people was just getting gas and it was just hella people up there. It wasn't really like no real drama. So then I was like, so where is the actual incident at? And then somebody told me, and then I walked down there. And here's the thing about Canfield, where Mike was killed at. Many moons ago, this area used to be a golf course. So they built these apartments on top of a golf course. If you're Black in St. Louis, you got a cousin that live in Canfield. You probably lived in Canfield. Everybody just know where the hell Canfield is. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's just, you might pick up somebody from over there. It's guaranteed that I'm gonna know somebody that stay down here when I walk down here. So, but the thing is, this road has now become very eerie to walk down because when you get to the apartments, when you wrap around the homes and you finally get through the stretch of residential homes and the apartments start to show their faces, you're gonna basically be walking into a grave site, a place where somebody's life was just now taken in broad daylight. And you can feel that the closer you get to the apartments, you feel, I'm not gonna say you feel death, but you damn sure feel like something dramatic happened to you. And that energy is still there to this day. I mean, I can go down there right now, I'm gonna feel that energy. And it's a weird thing because it's peaceful, but it's kind of staticky. It's like it's a forced piece. It's a paper thin piece. It's a piece that wants to explode. You could just feel the desire for it to erupt. But I get down there and there's just mad people outside, hella people outside. Some of his cousins is out there. And weirdly enough, the place where he got shot, the concrete is darker than the rest of the concrete surrounding it. So you can almost walk up, to this day, you can damn near walk to the exact spot because that concrete is just so darker than the rest of the concrete for some reason. And it's almost like the gas company dug up a pipe or something there and they darkened that slot of concrete. And for whatever reason, that's where Darren Wilson shot him, like on that exact piece of the pavement. So I'm outside, I'm looking at everybody, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I've never been to, I've done a lot of things politically. I've never been to the scene where a dead body was just removed. I just haven't. I have not been to the scene where the police just shot somebody and they people outside. They actual real life family members is outside. I've never been to nothing like that. So I'm trying to process what's going on in my actual real life, and who I am in reality is not as confident as my public persona would make me out to be. So I'm trying to just process what's going on. I'm listening to people, and I'm just visually trying to take everything in. I see one of my cousins who is an organizer with the fast food movement at that time outside as well. And he was like, hey, I just moved from over here a week ago. I used to sell weed. You know what I'm saying? He was just at my crib 2 weeks ago. So I was like, damn, you knew dude? And he was like, yeah, I knew him. And I was like, so what happened? He was like, man, they just came down here and shot him. So the thing that's unique, I might try to show y'all, because I actually live in this neighborhood. So you constantly feel like you're under fucking occupation. So to even kill somebody in this shit is ridiculous. They got my street blocked off right now. I don't even know what the fuck they doing. You know what I'm saying? I got no fucking clue what the fuck they doing. There's no sidewalks. How the fuck do you kill somebody for walking in the street in the neighborhood that ain't got no fucking sidewalks? Wow. So it's just crazy. It's just like straight up crazy. It's straight up crazy. It's straight up crazy. Like there's no way to like explain it no other way. It's crazy. It's lunacy. Like I don't even walk around out here because last thing I need is a motherfucker who having a bad day pulling up on me and trying to have a Mike Brown sequel. So, but that's what happens here. You live here, they just show up, shut down the street, dig up the pavement. I don't even know what these motherfuckers is doing outside, dog. Like if I ask questions, then I'm wrong for asking questions. But really, what are y'all doing? Why is my street blocked off today? Like seriously, what is going on? But you don't have to explain shit like that in the Black neighborhood. You can just show up and do what you want to do. Like for real, you can just, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we're doing. It doesn't matter what we have planned. It doesn't matter if our kids want to ride their bike down the block. It doesn't matter if like if you're rushing home to get back to your family, your partner after work. It don't matter. It just straight up don't matter. You pay property tax like everybody else. You vote like everybody else. All that shit is a fucking fallacy. It don't fucking matter. They still gonna come in this bitch and do what the fuck they want to do. So what Ferguson represented for us was, after years of dealing with shit like this, you know what I'm saying? Years of just being powerless. Years of just saying these things and not being heard. And also realizing that this neighborhood in my parents' generation was a white neighborhood. We ain't even been in this neighborhood 30 years, maybe 30 years now, you know what I'm saying? But Blacks just started coming in out here in the 90s. By the 2000s, the white folks was like, y'all niggas can have it. We don't want to live next door to y'all. We gone. We got to move out into like some crazy shit in the boonies. We deliberately do not want to live with you.
White flight.
So, and I saw it as a kid. Like we moved on the block and we had, like, this is my mom's old house. We moved on the block. We were the first Black family on our street at that time. By the end of the summer, everybody on the damn street was Black. Everybody, these people just sold out. I was like, I didn't know you could sell a house that quick. You know what I mean? Like, how did you do that? So, you know, it was wild. It was wild. I'm telling you, it's just a wild scenario to have to grow up in. So like, because the police can come through here right now and do whatever they want. Valentine's Day, I'm chilling in my house. I'm minding my own business. I'm just doing whatever the hell I do in the comforts of my home, being the weirdo that I am in my house. A car comes ramming into my damn living room window. Just last week. The cops show up. I gotta play community activists, don't let them arrest this 27-year-old dude who was out doing whatever the hell he was doing. Two girls jump out the car running. I gotta not tell that it was two other passengers in the whip. I gotta help this idiot get back to his mama's house. I gotta explain to his girlfriend that, you know what I'm saying, that he totaled her car, crashing it into my living room. And then I also have to deal with the police not treating me like I'm the fucking homeowner. Like for real, it's just out of control. It's out of control. So these are the microaggressions that I feel are magnified in the greater society. And just growing up in this environment shifted me closer towards some type of unique understanding of racism. But I don't know that I was on the spectrum of complete revolutionary until the death of Mike Brown. I was on some spectrum of revolutionary activity. I've always been involved in like the politics of the city. But that's mostly because when I was growing up out here, I felt so damn oppressed in this area that when I started writing my music at 12 years old, I said, you know, I knew that art for art's sake wasn't going to cut it. I knew that people here didn't have a voice. I knew that this was a unique culture, that just we were being overlooked. And I just knew that somebody would have to come out of here and be willing to tell the story. that the collective story was bigger than my personal story.
Yes.
And this type of experience really did teach me to deprioritize myself as a vessel in terms of the messages that I'm gonna speak about, the things that I want to talk about. That doesn't mean that I don't want to do it in an enjoyable way, because I'm not a person that's trying to make like music about like, you know, I'm not gonna give you 3 verses about socialism. That's just not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna still talk about my life. I'm gonna still talk about my relationships. I'm gonna still, you know, I'm gonna still talk about my mama. I'm gonna still talk about my pops. I'm just gonna talk about my life. But the nuance of my life is gonna include the struggle, because, you know what I'm saying, I was raised in the struggle. So, but the most challenging thing that I ever encountered was being being a person that people viewed as a political rap artist, and being from this neighborhood when this happened. Because I know this neighborhood like the back of my hand. I know these streets. I walked them. I know the creeks. The creek right next to my house is actually a creek that was used in the Underground Railroad. So like there's homes in this area that were Underground Railroad stops at some point. That energy, you feel the electricity of that vibration. But if you don't know the history, you don't know why you feel that vibration. You don't know why everybody here feels like, yo, one day we're gonna push. That's just how I feel like. I feel like subversively, we just grew up having that understanding that one day we're gonna push. I relate so deeply to folks in Palestine because I understand the mentality of, hey, they come down here whooping our ass every day, dog. But one day we're going to push. And that push may be not as glamorous as it needs to be, but we as citizens are going to push against an engrossing military one day. And the corner where Mike was killed, I used to stand on that corner sometimes, like, because my barbershop is on that street. So I used to walk to the barbershop. It's a nice distance away from my house, but I still used to walk it. And I used to stand there, and I remember being a very, very young person and standing there and going, yo, like just watching the cars go by, because it's one of the busiest intersections in the city. I used to stand there and go, man, something is going to happen here one day. I don't know what. Like I have always known that something that was going to rock the planet was going to happen at this location. I have always known it. I could take a polygraph on that shit. I have always known.
Felt it in your body? Is that where you felt it?
You could just feel the way that Black folks felt about like Harlem in the 30s, like the historical placement of like, yo, it's a lot of us here. We just got here. We're figuring it out. They might have been here before, but they don't know us like that. Y'all really think that we're gonna continue to let this happen? Like, y'all, you don't know us like that. Like, but you're gonna get to know us real soon. It might take 1 or 2 generations, but it's gonna happen. You're gonna get to know us. So, like, that's what I felt was happening, because I felt like the police here in this area got used to dealing with like the like the gangs and the emergence of like quote unquote urban crime and, you know, little petty shit that they try to make it seem like it's more magnificent than what it is. And really, you know, it's a hot spot for locking folks up. You can get it, you know, you get a ticket. It's a debtor's prison. I mean, it's just wild. It's a wild scenario. So most people have traffic warrants. Most people ain't got no car insurance. It's just straight up set up for you to fucking fail. Only reason I rose above this shit is because my parents had game enough to instill certain things in me and let me know what it really was. And I was blessed to come from that. Everybody don't come from that. So I can't judge them from the same happenstance. They in this neighborhood because, you know what I'm saying, Section 8 put them here. They don't have no loyalty to this soil. You know what I'm saying? We just got placed here. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't our home. You feel me? And our parents are trying to make it our home because they want a better life for themselves, because, you know, back in the day, they couldn't move out here, you know? But that's the veils of capitalism. That's the fallacies of capitalism. As soon as you think you catching up, they move the goddamn goalpost. So you never catching up, man. You never catching up. So you know, that's just what we grew up in. They tanked this thing out economically when it became a Black community. It was supposed to be something that it never became. And now, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people out here just fighting for survival. A lot of folks that have education, have resources, have some form of a knowledge of how to do things on a different level, talent. They don't want to be here no more. So like the thing to do is to grow older and just get the hell out of here and don't come back. So like, I mean, you know, it's more so typically viewed as a place where people who trying to raise a family but can't live nowhere else want to live, have to live. So like, but what's crazy about it is you got lots of land. You just got, what I say people here don't realize is we got land on land on land on land on land out here. And the possibility to build is really here. And I don't say that from the standpoint of like a fantasy, because I hate revolutionary fantasy shit. But I'm talking about in a real way. Like if we really got our minds right and went through the rigorous work of actually organizing with each other, I mean, we got a whole community of Black folks who have the opportunity to be upwardly mobile in a very unique way. But yeah, so all of this shit just led, I'm sorry if I'm taking too long, but
No, this is history, and you're lecturing from the actual, like what they would call history from below, right? But I don't think it's below. You have in your body historical knowledge. You are the archive. And so if there's one thing that I want anybody to get from my classes, we read. Critical study is important, but what's even more important are the theories that are in your body, the people that experienced it, not someone that was never impacted by it, never was there, going to write about it and theorize about it. So that's why I shut my mouth and I allow you to tell us the history, because you in your body are historical archive. So thank you for sharing what you've shared. I hope people here in this classroom and on the outside are aware that they're witnessing history in front of them, and just are integrating this opportunity, because as we are trying to subvert the academic way that we're in academy, we talk so much about decolonizing and all of these terms, but when we have the ability to, we still want to write a paper, we still want to talk about a book, we still want to theorize. But right now we can be about it. We have Tef Poe in here, you know what I'm saying? So I'm honored to be here as a guest lecturer with you. You are, I'm the guest here.
If you don't stop.
You know what I'm saying? So what I will do us a little bit, time is a construct, but I know that in this capitalist society, we are on that.
Well,
that
I can't close though if you need me to close, for real.
No, what I would love for you to show us is how your art has been impacted, how your art shifted. I know, they said, Nina Simone said art is supposed to reflect the time. So I know some of your work, but I wonder if in your storytelling you would show us a little bit of your work. And then finally, I hear you already getting there, but you talked about like the ability to build. If people would build that new future there, I would love to hear what your freedom dreams for your area would be. So I would love to hear about your art and your freedom dreams.
Okay, so yeah, I was trying, the whole point of this biblically epic Tupac meets Moses story that I'm trying to tell y'all is that my art was the way that I had legitimized my reputation amongst the people. My crew was the first predominantly straight cishet Black male rap crew to be like, yo, let's perform on this street called Manchester, which a lot of people wouldn't even go down that block because half of it was gay bars and half of it was quote unquote straight bars. So just the audacity of us to be like, yo, we're gonna start rocking over here. That was leadership. But we weren't doing it to make a ginormous political statement at that time. It was kind of like a Karate Kid moment, you're painting the fence, but you don't really even realize what you're doing. But so much of my credibility in this town comes from the decisions that I've made within conjunction to my music. I was the 106 in Park Freestyle Friday champ the same year that Mike got killed. And ironically, after that, I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to do that show, but then I did it and won, and then I ran into like a mountain of depression after that. And then this happens, and then I had to get over myself to be outside. So the music that I made after that, my focus was very sharp because, for one, I didn't think I was going to be alive very much longer dealing with the stuff we were dealing with. So I wanted to make music that I felt like if it was time for me to leave, at least it would be something that people could go back and play, and that was significant to the moment. So I was going to jail a lot of times on the front line of the protest and getting out and going to the studio and recording. And it was very challenging because as an artist, you're still supposed to make something commercial. You know, that everybody's gonna still try to push you for some commercial music to some degree. And I just didn't have it in me. I just did not have it in me going through all this stuff. Like, I can't sleep in a cell using a sandwich or using a bologna sandwich for a pillow, and then I got to come out here and make some song about absolutely nothing. It's impossible for me to do going through this stuff. So I just really learned that I don't have a space in my life for art's sake. Even if it is art for art's sake, it's still attached to a deeper vibration to me intuitively. But I'm gonna play something I did, one of my videos. Give me a second. And as I load that up, I will talk a little bit about what my actual freedom dream is. I exist in a spectrum of where I don't believe that the forces that are oppressing us are invincible. I just believe most people haven't deprioritized themselves enough to actually be serious about fighting it. Because I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. There's more of us collectively than there are of them. But if the same 6 people are getting arrested every fucking week, then it's fucking pointless. I'm gonna stay the fuck home. So that's where I've learned that, you know, in the resistance moment, everybody's not gonna show up when it gets real for real. There are people in your mind right now that you assume, like, yo, if something drastic on this level were to happen in my community, I know such and such would show up. And the reality of that is you're probably wrong. They're probably not going to show up. When it becomes a matter of life or death, most Americans take a very privileged position in how we engage politics. We take a very safe position. We want casual revolution. We know that the world is not a peaceful place, but we still hold on to the exceptionalism that we deserve to have peaceful revolutions. We're the only place on the planet that deserves them, apparently. But that's not how you get rid of tyrants. That's not how you get rid of a militarized force. Even Martin Luther King and Gandhi, these were people who, yeah, they were nonviolent folks, but that was a militant nonviolence. That wasn't just nonviolence for the sake of nonviolence. That was nonviolent with militant means. And I think that my dream is attached to the reality of the fact that I sincerely don't believe that this thing that we're up against is not beatable. But I do believe that we're gonna be in a very stagnant position until other people accept that as the reality. Until we all accept that as the reality, and we begin to debunk the myth that is attached to the war machine, the myth that is attached to the sexism, the myth that is attached to the rape culture, the myth that is attached to the racism. Just, you know, we create these containers to put this stuff in because we don't want to deal with the fact that this is just evil. And when you're up against evil, it's not politics, it's not this, it's not that, it's evil. And when you're up against evil, you have to have a radical means to eradicate evil. And we in America, I study history. I watch all these things. Sometimes I sit up all day and I'll start watching a documentary that'll take me from 1776 to 2020. just so I can contextualize American culture for myself. And it's, you know, we have put ourselves in some very interesting positions, man, because like we claim we want change, but then we don't even really define the change. The change is always like this vacuous, like, we need change. I'm gonna vote for such and such because of change. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck does change mean? I don't want change. You know what I'm saying? Change don't do shit for me in a capitalist society. So like, I need actual concrete shit. I need, you know what I mean? I need some real bills paid in this motherfucker. Excuse my language. But you know, change don't pay the bills. So unless you are straight up for real super duper duper neoliberal, and that's all you could just talk about without producing results.
My son would say he needs all his basic needs met. He's 10. I was like, really? He said he was asked, and this is relevant because he was asked from my nephew's project to talk about if Harris and Biden would mean that we will have a real change. And he was like, I don't know if I should say it on camera. And I was like, say whatever you think. He was like, absolutely not, because the system is the same. And he was like, I need my basic needs met. And I was like, okay. I'm gonna have to play this class the video because I literally have it on video. And I was like, so shocked. And I was like, right, okay. So yes, you know, I feel you. My son is on the same one with you.
So, and you know, I understand when I say something like that, that sounds scary to a lot of people. It's not, I'm not saying that I'm saying that we need to move from 0 to 5,000. I'm not saying that you take the Lamborghini and put it on the highway and crank it to its maximum velocity. I'm not even saying you get your ass in the Lamborghini yet. All I'm saying is that in your basic everyday life, we got to start making some real decisions if we're actually serious. Like, if we're not serious, then let's just stop bullshitting each other and just actually be the capitalistic, bloodthirsty, the best capitalist, bloodthirsty, warmongering, rape-driven, sexist, homophobic, racist, ancient society that we could be. But like, if that's what we're gonna be, then let's just be it. But like, it's just like being in a relationship with somebody who just trying to cap with you like they somebody that they not, and you keep seeing this person present themselves to be everything but the thing that they're presenting themselves to be. But you still grant them the mercy. You still grant them the theoretical mercy of like, I'm making the assumption that there's something behind this. I'm making the assumption that there's something deep for you. But you have shown me consistently that I'm a fucking fool. So now I'm in an abusive relationship and I'm actively trying to change the abuser. I'm actively looking for another relationship while still being in the relationship with the abuser. Right. If you want to get out of a relationship with an abuser, guess what? You got to fight that motherfucker.
Right.
You ain't just gonna walk away, cut it off. Hey, I'm done. Y'all got to bang it out. So we're in a situation where the logical decision from what we are requesting doesn't match the way that we're going about trying to accomplish it. And it's just, each generation is just stalling it out. It's just stalling it out. It's just, okay, we each generation, maybe this is the last dance. It's not the last dance. They still got nuclear weapons. Each generation, is this the last dance? It's not the last dance. They got coronavirus. Each generation, is this the last dance? It's not the last dance. It's never the last dance, because that's not how greed and fucking death and fucking imperialistic desires work, man. If you want to stop it, you got to stop it. If you don't want to stop it, then just accept it for what it is and stop bullshitting the rest of the world like this is what you are, because the rest of the world is, quite frankly, looked at us and said, yo, we don't get it. No. We don't get it. Black Americans specifically, we don't get it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take us a moment to pause there, because that was so powerful. No, you preaching. But what I want to say is something that I say often to my students, and it's something that I've found from the organizing that I do, which is, you know, most people don't really want true freedom or liberation. They just don't want to be oppressed.
Gang. So I'm done. Can I play the video or did I'm done? I promise.
Yes, come on, come with it. Come on, Tef.
I'm done.
You gotta come with it.
But if I can leave y'all with anything, that's just what I want to leave y'all with, man. Just,
y'all see why I love them? These my folks.
Hold on, I'm terrible at this. I had it pulled up.
I know that your background looking way better than mine. I got 31 tabs open. All
I'll play this. It's really important for me. It was really important for me on my last record to collaborate with women. Just because hip hop is a space where we just act like it ain't no women MCs who aren't Megan and Cardi B. And that's just like straight up bogus. So I did a song with this sister from the Philippines. She's half Philippine, half Black, real good friend of mine from Jacksonville, Florida.
I love it.
Named Chi. She changed her name to just Chi now, but on here it was Chi for it. Chi for
Used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy. Used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy. Used to like I carry the slack for the things that we lack. But maybe these are the demons that are bringing me back. How can I make it if they aren't the ones that's bringing me down? And I ain't gotta lie, never satisfied. So I move like, doing pro like, I got tool like, on the Pullman. Miles Davis of this generation, I got music. Flow certain, so my burden certain, never die. Smoking on Instagram and you see the pain in my eye. Never take, never hate on another soul. What it say? Get the money, nigga. What you coming for? And I stay up there, no regrets, nah. You can bet, nah. Put my niggas in the mix, you know that we a threat, nah. You ain't seen things we ain't seen. Blame yourself, nah. God told me, I'm a son of his. Blame myself, nah. Pass by, POE the beast. I was mad fly. Rocky told you I'd beat us when we made beats to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy. Used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy.
Used to open doors for you, now I gotta let it go. Showing all that love to me, never when it's down the road. Coming for my enemies, better hope they close the door. Coming for my enemies, blessings when I go to war. You're no friend of me, you ain't never so, you ain't never broke. Never felt for me, never held me down, never let me know, never came around when I needed doubt. Read it when you see me blessing up, oh you need it now. When I get it, it's a miracle, and we want it all. Show my face when they see the God, turn it spiritual, it's a way. Give me hella space, give them hella cars in the way. If you move it slow, you might see the charge on the plane. And it where I go, destiny evolved from the pain. I got hella peace, constantly evolved, fuck the fame. Get the money right, learn to play the game. Lock the bag, give a fuck about what you're saying. Got my face, no remorse.
Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy. Used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. I know I used to open doors, boy. Now I got no remorse, boy. No remorse, boy. Used to open doors, boy.
Yeah, what they want, what they want. Coming from my enemies, tell me what they want from me. Tell me what they want to know, no. Coming from my enemies, tell me what they want from me. Tell me what they want to know, no. Coming from my enemies.
So yeah, y'all, that's it's like
Love that one.
At least a minute more of her, you know, just vibing out. But
Wow.
that's no remorse, you feel me? That's just the type of music I try to make. Just music talking about my real life. A lot of people be talking about shit that just ain't they life, bro, and I hate that shit.
Yeah. Well, I want everyone to unmute their mics and give a thank you to Tef Poe. Everyone, 1, 2, 3. Thank you
so much for your words.
It's an absolute blessing to have you here. Thank you so much.
Good historian. We're not going to get rid of Tupac Moses. Thank you.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yes, that's beautiful. So we are at the hour and I want us to take a moment to just move around if you can, move your neck around because we have Samora coming up, but I want you to take a moment to move a second. If you need to get a drink of water, I'm gonna give us a 2-minute break to get some water. Yes, so I wanna give us space to do, just not look straight at the camera. But yes, so grab some water. Yes, I know some more want to grab some water real quick, and I'll put on a little bit of our insight timer, and then folks can come back in about 2 minutes, and then we'll start. All right, thank you so much, Tef. That was beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, that was beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna put something on for us.
Please let me feel.
I'm gonna put the timer on to 2 minutes. So let's see where we at. Let's go to 2 minutes. All right, so put the timer at, I'm putting the timer at 2 minutes. And then when this song goes off, when this song goes off, we'll return.
Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. Please let me feel inner peace from my center, at the center of me. Please let me feel. Please let me feel peace from my center and the center of me. My heart is open. I am aware. In me's a knowing of love, love, love. My heart is open. I am aware. In me's a knowing of love, 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 love.
All right, y'all, let's come back. Let's all come back so I can welcome Samora. If you can, get on the video for us. Go ahead and get on the video. Yeah, so that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Samora. Tef Poe. Now I happen to have moved your bio, but I'm getting back to it right now because I put on the song. So it moved. Continue as Shamel Bell. Okay, perfect. Let's talk about you need a code and all this other stuff. So give me 1 second. I shouldn't have closed the tab, but I want to get your bio read. Okay, so I don't know why it's asking me to do a code right now, but okay. Let me get to your bio. Perfect. So it's coming up. Now, this is Samora. So I want to talk to you all about my friend who is a composer, pianist, vocalist known for striking intimacy and carefully crafted, radically honest lyrics alongside high-level musicianship. He is also known for his use of music to examine social political issues and fight for change. He's collaborated and performed with many artists across boundary and scene, including Common, Sarah Bareilles, Glenn Ligon, Robert Glasper, David Diggs, Layla Hathaway, Herbie Hancock, the Herbie Hancock, and many more. Samora is the first ever Art for Justice and Soros Justice Fellow given to him in support of his upcoming project, the Healing Project. He's also a recipient of Chamber Music America's 2020 Visionary Award. His work frequently, he works frequently with Common on compositions for music and film, and is a featured member on the new album August Green and Left Love with Common, Robert Glasper, Boom Bishop, and Kareem Riggins. Everyone unmute your mic and let's welcome 1, 2, 3, Samora!
Welcome, Samora.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I feel the love. I really appreciate it. And Shamel, thank you for having me. I am a big proponent, and the reason I appreciate that, I am a big proponent of giving people the flowers while they're present, not even here, but present to hear it and receive it. So I'm grateful for that. And in that spirit, I do have to say, before I talk whatever I'm talking about, number one, that Shamel, I'm sure all of you guys that are a part of this class, you probably know clearly, as Tef said, how different this is, and also how lucky you are to have Shamel teaching this class. But also, I don't even know if you really do, because Shamel is, number one of the realest people I ever will meet in my life. And talk about lineage, she is in a lineage of brilliant radical thinkers, mentored by them, and has been a mentor to others. So very, one of the most important people to me on the planet. And I'm grateful to be a part of this. Also, one of those artists, which I would put, Tef in as well. And this is part of what I will probably at some point get to when I talk, which is just, the people that really, to me, what I define as the most important artists of our time, they're yet not usually the ones that everybody says is the most. And these are two, to me, the most important artists of our time. When you talk about Shamel, you talk about Tef, because they're creating form, actually building and creating new form. And they're also saying something that's honest that people need to hear. So I'll say thank you, Shamel. And Tef, he's already broke down to you, everything. And I already learned so much from that process. So thank you, Tef. Just learning all type of things that I didn't even know. But also, I think one of the things that does tend to happen when you are an artist and also you are a revolutionary and a freedom fighter, as Tef is that you can often be defined by one and not recognized fully by the other. And Tef is one of the best rappers in the world. He is a wordsmith. I can't wait for his book that he's currently writing. And it's just the real, like, the dude is incredible artist, bar none. So I just also want to say that, because like I said, sometimes, they try to be like, they want to call commercial artists, but anytime you try to make your art about something, they just say you do that other thing, and then they don't talk about your art. So that's whack. So I'm very grateful for Tef Poe's work of all kinds, and including and especially his art. Tell you a little bit about me. I am originally from the Bay Area, from Berkeley, California. I'm currently based in Harlem, New York City, and I've been living out here for about 10 years. And it was really interesting to listen to Tef's talk, particularly because I feel like, speaking to my experience in a certain way, it's almost the inverse, in that Tef really talked a lot about being so connected to the place he was from, and expanding out on that in so many ways, and how that really informs a lot of his work, what lives inside of him, and everything like that. I have a very interesting relationship to where I'm from, in kind of the opposite way, in that, in the one hand, being from the Bay Area, and having the parents that I had, the example I always give to give a sense of my parents very quickly is that I'm named after Samora Machel, who actually many people don't know, but Samora Machel was a revolutionary freedom fighter. He was the leader of the Liberation Army in Mozambique against the Portuguese colonizers. And when they won, he was the first democratically elected president of Mozambique, and he was assassinated by it's debated whether it's by American forces or South African forces during apartheid. People don't really know, but one of those. So that's, you know, that's the family that I come from to put me in that kind of lineage. And I take that very seriously. But also on top of that, the Bay Area, particularly Oakland and Richmond, and parts of San Francisco like Bayview, Hunters Point, are among some of the most important radical spaces in the country when it comes to both organizing and art. You know, a lot of people obviously talk about the Panthers, obviously, and, you know, talk about a lot of different things from as far as Oakland goes, but there's so many levels to the organizing that happens in Oakland and Richmond. But Berkeley is a very different thing. Berkeley is a very different thing. And so it's very interesting to be from Berkeley, because most of my folks coming up and also the work that my parents do is in Oakland and San Francisco. My father is one of the foremost, he's one of the biggest people that like working on community trauma and youth violence around the country. He's been doing this for 20 years before it was something that people were even willing to call trauma. But we all know what it is. And my mom is the founder of a curriculum called Roots of Success, which is an environmental literacy curriculum, which is taught in prisons around the country. So they were doing that work, and I was connected to that and to what was happening around the Bay Area. But Berkeley is somewhere that a lot of people say, like, talk about it like it's this very radical place, but it was my first introduction, way before I even understood it, to class divisions and to the realities of class. And the reason I say that is that there's a lot that's culturally political about Berkeley. There are a lot of ways in which it is freer than other places. Like, for instance, I mean, I would say the education I got in my schools coming up in Berkeley was very different than what's in the textbooks in Texas. So I'm very conscious of that. But that having been said, there was always in the air this very patronizing energy that I don't think I really understood growing up. And the best way I could explain it, which is why I was so grateful for this film, was Get Out. To me, like, Berkeley is like the epitome of Get Out, the movie, where it's like, you don't really know where people really, like, what people really think about you, because everyone wants to appear a certain way. And there's a lot of, you know, we're helping folks, or we, you know, there's a lot of power dynamics that are unacknowledged. That's the way that I would talk about it. And so it was a very, very interesting thing to grow up in. And I think because of that kind of schism of growing up in Berkeley, being connected to both artists and activists from Oakland and San Francisco, I didn't grow up with a sense of connection to place, I think, in a way that I think I kind of tried to force it. And for a lot of times, and this is part of what's important for me, is I try to be very honest, is I do think when I was younger, I tried to play pretend a little bit. Because since the folks was from Oakland and the folks was from Richmond, I was like, yeah, you know, that's where I'm from. But my experience was very different from that. Very different. Connected. I mean, it's my people's, but it was very different. So I do think that those things are important. And I think that since we're talking about origin, I think that that's important for me to say. And I think because it also does connect to what I'm still continuously trying to work through as my identity. Part of that is that I'm mixed. My father's African-American. My mom's family is Sephardic from Azerbaijan, which was the Soviet Union, which I was very close to my grandfather on that side. He was a communist that is born and raised in New York City, but his family's from the Soviet Union. So that's also influenced my politics a lot. But that's also, you know, was very complicated growing up, and something that I'm still unpacking. And I think the combination of all those things made me feel, in a certain sense, like a person without a place. And I think that that's something that I'm really still, like I said, trying to work through, because, and the part that I think is important for that is that I don't think we always acknowledge how much the people we are and our own insecurities and the things we're trying to work through are informing the choices we make every day in ways that oftentimes we're really not trying to deal with. And we can't really be doing the work that we're doing. Part of what, you know, Shamel and Tef was talking about as far as getting the individual out of the way is that if you're going to get yourself as an individual out of the way, you got to start being honest about yourself as an individual. And there's been a lot of times in my life where I've not been honest about myself as an individual, right? I haven't realized that I've been trying to, there's been parts of me that while I'm trying to do the work, I'm also trying to find a place to fit in, right? While I'm trying to do, while I'm trying to figure out what's the purpose for me, you know, as an artist, as a person that wants to make change in the world, I'm trying to prove something to myself. And that, you know, as Tef said, if we're being honest, it's everybody, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that if we don't acknowledge it, then it's going to drive us. We're not going to drive it. And it's going to drive us maybe some places that's going to maybe waste us some time, maybe take us to some places we don't want to go. So I think I'm trying to be really real about that. Now, I think, and I think the place that I'm at now, which is a lot of the work that I'm doing now, is that I really believe that everybody in prison needs to be free tomorrow. When we talking about freedom dreams, this is what I'm obsessed with right now. This is what I'm obsessed with right now. And the reason that to get it to a personal place is that this is interesting in respect to, you know, and I love to have it, you know, in conversation with Tef's talk. I'm grateful to be in call and response with that, because I just love to be the response to the call. Is that just as he said, he was already doing things, but then a moment, you know, a set of circumstances really drove the next steps that he, you know, was called to take. That really did happen for me as well, which is that as I grew up, I was always engaged in work, mostly because of my parents and my community, and the lineage of my family, particularly, you know, like I said, on both sides different. My mom's side through communism, and my dad's side through his racial lineage. My grandmother, speaking of Harvard, my grandmother was one of the first in history to actually do genealogy studies. She went to the courthouses in Louisiana, found the documents of our, you know, folks in bills of sale with like animals and shit. And this was way before the Skip Gates, you know, Professor Gates. This is way before, you know, all respect to Professor Gates. This is really early. And she's a Black woman, you know, and so, and people don't really talk about her work to me as much as it deserves to be talked. Her name is Elaine Pinderhughes. She used to teach at Boston College. Anyway, so I was very connected through all of that. But I was really unsure as to what I wanted to be involved in on a daily basis, what my kind of energy was, as far as like, you know, there's so many things that we want and need to be a part of shifting. And I do believe that there's time and we should be engaged. I think they all connect and we need to be engaged in all of them. But, you know, we all also have focuses. And one thing that really shifted my life was that through my mother, actually through my mom's curriculum, I became really close friends with several brothers who have life sentences. One, thank the Lord, is getting out in 2 weeks. So I'm just very happy about that. And sending, you know, all energy for his health till he gets out. But the other one is still in. They both went in basically at the age 16, 17 years old. And I didn't know them until a few years ago, till they, at that point, in their 30s and 40s. These are like my big brothers. These are the people that not only that I learned the most from, but when I have issues of any kind, those are the people that I turn to. When I have insecurities, when I have things I'm working through, when I have doubts about myself or others, when I have questions about what's going on around me, those are the folks that I talk to. Those are the folks that I talk to. And that's not even people that I knew the longest, you know? It's not because it's people that I knew the longest. It's because they are the wisest kindest, most compassionate people I've ever met in my life. And these are people too, both who are not often, very often written out of the narrative when it comes to criminal justice reform. They're not in prison for drug charges. They're not in prison. I'm not even going to get into, because part of the issue is that everyone is defined by their case. So I'm not even going to say any of that. But all I will say is they're not a part of the narrative that people like to use when they, as Tef said, they want to appear a certain way, but not necessarily put anything on the line with it, right? And so it's very easy to say, let out the people who are innocent. It's very easy to say, let out the people that fit our narrative of who is good and who is bad. And this has totally shattered, for me, it really didn't shatter things for me in the sense that I already believed in that, but it opened the veil for me as far as where folks are really at, and asking some real uncomfortable questions that I think a lot of people don't want to ask. I think hopefully many of you in here are, but I think, I'm talking about the larger society. And I think there's a few things that led me to that I think have become very foundational in my artistic practice as well as my day-to-day life. One is an analysis of why we think certain people are bad and others are good, why we think certain people are criminal and others are not, and how we define that in our society when it's disproved literally every single day. And I think a lot of us in here probably understand that and know that. But it continues to astound me how even when we know that, ideology and narrative is so embedded that we can still fall for it, I mean, you have somebody in prison for whatever type of crime related to drugs, crime, whatever type of, and let me also say, and I'll go deep into this too, that one thing that I hate is to conflate crime with harm. I'm not saying that I don't believe harm happens and that we shouldn't have ways to deal with harm. And that's actually really important to my whole framing of everything, because I actually think that part of what we do is we don't actually deal with harm when we do what we're doing now. Clearly we're not, because there's still a lot of harm being committed, more and more every day. And so it's not working. So, but when I say, there's a person that's locked up on a drug crime. Meanwhile, like the people that created the Sackler family that created the fucking drug Oxycontin and like lied on it for hella years, and thousands of people literally died because of their actions. They still have their name on a building at Harvard. I don't know if y'all know that, but because I don't know if some of you might know, or some of you might not know, I am currently a PhD student at Harvard. And, we're not all, we're all in Zoom life right now. But when I was going to class, I would walk by that building every day. And I remember because it was right when they reached a settlement with the federal government to pay whatever amount of money, to get out of admitting any wrongdoing for killing thousands of people. And I would walk by the building with their name on it every day. And I was like, wow, this is really deep, like people. And even with that, even after they've been, getting these settlement, you ask most people and they would use different language than they use with those who are incarcerated. And that's what's very fascinating to me, particularly as an artist, and why I really think language is very powerful, and narrative is very powerful, and imagery, and hundreds and thousands of years of this stuff being reinforced, and what our power really is as artists, because people will use different language even when two people do the same thing, based on clearly what they look like, based on their class position, and also based on where they are. Because if a person is in prison, we use certain language around that person, right? If a person is from a certain place, we use certain language around that person. So I think that, to me, that's really important. The other part of that I think has been really foundational for me is that I think the other thing that prison does, And I always use a James Baldwin quote from the Cross of Redemption because it's what really helped awaken me to this idea. So he talks about, he says, he quotes Shakespeare as saying, from this nettle danger, we pluck this flower safety. And he says, what that means to me is that the safety we erect around ourselves is an illusion in this society. And we are always, every day, trying to grab onto that safety. We're trying to grabbing onto it for dear life. And that's another part of what Tef was saying about why we can't go towards revolution is we have a terrible fear of what will happen if we move towards that based on like some weird idea of what, like everything that people are like, I don't know, we don't know what's going to happen to society, right? And we're so locked into, well, at least we understand what things are here. At least we have a concept of what safety is, that we don't even realize that it's already bad, right? Like it's already all bad. Maybe it's better for some of us than it is for others. And that's definitely a part of it. You know, some folks are more comfortable, but like it's already all bad, you know, but the idea of the unknown to us is so much scarier than even the known that is terrible, you know, and that's something that's really important to acknowledge. And so I think this idea of safety that we're grasping onto is very foundational. And I think prisons are embedded in that in our society, right? So in order to deconstruct the idea of our need for prisons, we're going to have to deconstruct the idea that we have safety in this society. Not the idea that we can have safety in the future, that safety is impossible, but that we have safety in this society, because we don't.
You know, something
And
that you
as
said
Tef,
about safety that I thought was dope is that I never even thought about that. Because I think that even in our interpersonal relationships are coming down from our childhood trauma. Like some of us don't even know what it feels like to be safe in our own communities, let alone in our own families. You know, I trigger warning, but talking about different kinds of assaults and things within the family, outside the family. So the ideas of what it even means to be safe, we don't know what that is.
right.
So that is something really, really profound. Like even as a 36-year-old Black woman, I'm still trying to figure out where I feel safe, and then when you trust and then still feel violated in this society, interpersonally and just as a whole. So you just touched on something so key that I haven't thought about with my students. I talk about unconditional love. I talk about our visions. I talk about our self-sabotaging behaviors. How if I'd be remiss if I teach you all to find your vision of who you really are, and then don't tell you that sometimes the number one enemy to yourself is yourself, and finding those self-sabotaging behaviors. But I never talked about safety. I don't know what that is, Samora. I don't know what that is.
I hear you. I hear you. And that's its own, you know, 10 hours of a thing. And there are so many people who are more equipped to talk about, to unpack all of that than I am. Especially because, as you said, you know, even that safety, right? Even that safety, even the illusion of that safety only exists for some people, but exists for enough people that there's no revolt, right? That's the key. That's the key that the society is banking on. So yeah, but safety is important. I mean, I think, and the other thing I'll say about that too, that I also realized about that is that a lot of us also use prison, and this goes to connect to what you were just talking about, Shamel, is that a lot of us also we use prison psychologically and philosophically as a way to stay at a remove from the concept that we could be implicated in harm, and also that we could harm others, right? And I'll start with myself. This was very foundational for me as a man, as a, you know, a man, a heterosexual man, heteronormative man, who I think for most of my life really believed that I was all good off that conversation because I had never physically harmed anybody. I had never done any of the things that the culture associates with the worst of manhood, right? Just like for a lot of white people, they've never done the things that the culture associates with what Kiese Lemon calls the worst of white folks, right? So I felt like that about myself as a man. And I sat down as a part of this project called the Healing Project, which is a part of, it's an interview-based, conversation-based project that I've been going around the country for the last 3 years, talking to folks in a lot of different cities of all different ages, all different situations about their experiences, particularly built around folks who have dealt with the prison system in different ways, or what we call structural violence. And he was talking to me about a men's circle that he was a part of, and he started to break down to me all the things he started to realize in his life. And I was like, yo, I have a lot of those same tendencies. Like when I'm insecure about something, or I'm like really frustrated with myself, I have the tendency to put that on the person that's close to me, right? And there's even like a physical part of my body that's like I'm having to hold it back from doing some, punching something into a wall. I'm not, like I said, I haven't done anything to anybody, but I have to wrestle with those realities in my body, and I need to be honest about that. I'm like, where does that come from? And what's interesting is it does not come from my father, because my father is the most gentle person you will ever meet in your life. And the narrative, in society is that is the only place that can come from, and it's not to say it doesn't come from there sometimes. But what I was reckoning with was the reality that the society I lived in every day had actually not only taught me things in my mind, but they had taught me things in my body. And Shamel, you connect to this, clearly. And, like I was starting to deconstruct bodily responses I would have to what I perceived as weakness in myself. And I was like, whoa, I got to deal with that. Right. And so I think that process is something that if we were to engage on that and somehow everyone was engaging on that level all the time, I really do believe, like together and individually, I think that there's no way that would not shift things so much more radically in terms of people's health and safety than prison does. There's no way, right? And not only that, but as we all know, prison, not only does it not do that, it's just like so traumatizing, you can't even talk about how traumatizing it is, right? So, and the last thing I'll say about what I learned from that process is that because of this project, I started, even beyond the people that I knew most intimately, I just started writing letters to folks inside. And I would do this through organizations. And you can, any of you can find these organizations. I literally found some of them on Twitter. Like I was like, oh, I want to connect with there are radical study groups, abolitionist study groups in prisons around the country, led, in coordination with folks on the outside so they can get the information to people. And they're writing letters back and forth all the time. And so I just, reached out to some folks and I started to write with folks. And it opened me up to, number one, a whole set of things that were going on that I was not even conscious of, as far as daily processes, community processes, folks in their community just doing the work every day. But it also allowed me to be talking all the time with people that really have the answers. Like we're literally in a Harvard class, and like, this society will have you believe that Harvard is where I hope none of us actually really think that like this is where we're gonna get all the answers, particularly around what we're talking about. But it certainly is not. And of all the places that I've been a part of, that is actually like folks that I'm corresponding with in prison. They are the ones that have given me the answers to my deepest questions. And of course they have more questions too. I'm not trying to like objectify them in that way, but I'm trying to say that part of the reason that they're incarcerated is because they have the potential to break open this society. Some of our greatest minds, our greatest leaders, our greatest everything are in prison right now, including political prisoners who we never talk about, except like the 3 that we want to make movies about. And then, that's about how long we take it, but there's a lot of folks that are inside right now, and it's exactly because they have the potential to be a part of a great breaking open of the society that, as Tef said, is so much more possible than they want us to believe. I want to see like where I'm, because I have random things written down here of other things that I'm thinking about in respect to this context, which is okay. So one thing I think has also been important to me recently as an artist and as a person that wants to be a part of collective liberation is that we have to divest ourselves, deconstruct as well all of our attachments to the concept of American progress, which has only gotten worse with technology that is built to enhance those same instincts. And we've done a great job of flipping that. As Tef said, we use these tools because we have to, and collectively we use these tools to resist. But we have to be very careful about the ways in which we participate in them and the things that they bring up in us if we don't check it. And the mains that I'll use for myself as an artist and as trying to be part, like I said, of collective work, is individuality and celebrity, and the concept of the gaze. And I don't even mean the white gaze, which is already in itself enough to drive you crazy. But what I mean is they'll have you believing that you aren't doing any work every day if you're not seen doing work every day. And that is really, really bad. Really, really bad. Really bad. Because number one, it reinforces the idea of individual saviors, which is some bullshit. And it also reinforces the idea that whoever is the most seen talking about a thing is the authority on that thing, when most of the time they are the ops. And I really learned this from Tef and the Ferguson folks, for real, because I didn't even, my introduction to that process, other than watching it from the outside, was scoring Who Streets. And that was actually my first introduction to Tef and the work of a lot of different people. And when I realized that all the people in this documentary was none of the people that I had heard talking about it online, and everyone's telling me knew about the information, I was like, there's something wrong here. The alarm bells went off. And then when I realized that some of those same people, when they would visit Ferguson, would get run out of Ferguson because they were fakes that took advantage of the situation for their own celebrity, I was like, whoa, this is something really, really wrong here. So I say all that to say that we all have to fight the impulse, because we all, listen, we all want to be a part. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be seen as good people, as doing the right thing. We all want to be validated, and that's fine. That's natural. But this stuff will have you playing on that, like straight playing on that, to where you're making decisions based on how things will be seen rather than the work that they can do to help other people. Now, I know I'm going on and on, so I will play a piece. Well, actually, what I won't do instead of play the piece is that I have a site that I'd like to share, and I'll share it in the chat. And this is much bigger than, it's like a lot more stuff on there than I could play right now. But I think it will be a portal, hopefully, to some different things, which is that one of the things that I'm trying to work on in the artistic process as well is that each piece can be a portal to that collective imagination and to collective conversation around how we can be honest together. And my first experiment with this was a song called Process. And this is a song that's is very personal to me. It's about my dealing with anxiety and depression, which a lot of people deal with, and how that comes into contact with different things in my life and how it showed up. And as I would play this song live, I would receive a lot of response from different people that were going through it. And so I thought that I would put together a digital space of sorts for a lot of my fellow folks to ruminate on that idea together, as well as to like introduce the song. So I'm going to put this in the chat here. And you can find the video and the film there for the song process. And you can also read, if you scroll down, there's a bunch of different responses from different folks, including me and Tef's brother, Phil Agnew, who's incredible, one of my inspirations. He's one of the first people on there, and amazing people, Shnaka, just beautiful folks sharing, you know, their real experiences. And that's, I think, what I hope to be a part of as we continue, is just like, you know, being a part of context in which folks can help each other and start to be honest together, as I really respect so much from Shamel and Tef. I hope this wasn't too circuitous and random. But lastly, and then I'll go into freedom dreams. As far as my freedom dreams, I just wrote down: no more capitalism, free everybody, honesty, honesty, honesty. And the last thing I wrote down is rituals of depth rather than rituals of capital. We build so many rituals in our society that uphold capital and uphold wealth, rather than rituals of spirituality, rituals that ground us back into the earth and into ourselves and into our ancestors, our spirits, and our processes. So I think those are the things that, you know, for me, that's the thing I'm trying to communicate with through my work and through my life, rather than participating in things that will make you believe that you can buy stuff and then you be straight with your people and, you know, your ancestors. Okay, Shamel, you should open it back up to the folks. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I want to hear one of your favorites. So go ahead if you want to play one of your favorites.
Okay.
And then we have some folks dropping in the chat, and they can just unmute themselves and go in a cipher. If you see your name and you want to spit your vision, your freedom dream to Samora and Tef, this is your time to shine.
All right, bet. Okay, so Shamel, do you want me to do the hold that weight, or you want me to do process video? Either video, because I like both videos.
I like both, so you just go ahead and pick one.
Oh, okay, this is hard. All right, I'm gonna play hold that weight because I just like the black and white.
Perfect. This is beautiful. Are we supposed to be able to hear because it's on mute? I didn't know if it was silent in the beginning.
Can you hear it now?
I can hear it, but you got to go back to the screen. Yep, there it is.
Got it. I forgot to share sound.
All of his years at the factory plant, through minimum wage and many a state of dreams and love and sorrow. He asked if I could spare a pair of my walking shoes to help him climb the hills that still lay in his life. Something he could wear to carry his cares. Hold up his iron will, a day may be tomorrow. He wanted to lay down. He wanted to touch the ground. I placed myself at his feet and said, whatever you need. He said, practice what you preach. Yes, I will. upon a man who carried in his fist all of the violence that happened to him. Through many a day, he locked it away and hardened his flesh like no weapon could prosper. They put him in a cage and said it was his fate to ride with the rest, but he got out in 8. He puts on a mask now to cover his rage, 'cause red and blue lights might look twice and bring the chopper today. He wanted to break down. He wanted to touch the ground. I said, how do we defeat that state that do evil deeds? He said, practice what you preach. Yes, I will hold that weight. I'll hold that weight for you. Yes, I will hold that weight. I'll hold that weight for you. Yes, I will hold that weight. I'll hold that weight for you. Yes, I will hold that weight. I'll hold that weight for you. Yes, I will hold that weight. I don't know if it holds to. I had daydreams, ways of freedom, what it might be. Lately, I see working ways out.
Wow, that's beautiful. So everyone, I'm gonna say 5, 6, 7, 8. You're gonna unmute your mic. And 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
So appreciative of the storytelling,
And
I'm just
vulnerability,
so grateful to
raw,
revolutionary.
you guys.
I've
giving us
beautiful.
been
tonight.
thinking about
Thank
this for a
you
long
for
time.
I love your music.
your existence.
I hope that we can meet in person someday soon.
Okay,
so
y'all.
much.
So my computer is about to die, so I'm charging it. So what I do want to do right now is have like a cipher of these freedom dreams. And so first person on deck, just go ahead and mute your mic. And I want to try to do it in a rhythm. So if, when the person ends, have the next person just unmute and go. So go ahead and put your name in the chat and let's go. And I'm gonna say in 5, 6, 7, 8, and we're gonna spit these visions. All right, and 5, 6, 7, 8. Who's supposed to go? Supposed to be the first person. Oh, unmute. Make sure you're unmute to get ready.
I want to shift our world towards unbridled passion, energy, care, and empathy for one another. I want a world where knowledge is open and free-flowing and rooted in radicalism. I hope to start living and manifesting the shift within my own life in hopes of sparking the same sentiments within others around me.
It's a cipher. Keep it going. Unmute and go.
My vision is to draw upon sacred earth energies to co-hold space for liberation of all young people centered in hip hop culture and Black liberation, and to support culturally sustaining street dance educators in all contexts.
My vision is to redesign the institutionalized and systemic obstacles preventing the success of African Americans through outreach, care, and kindness by educating, serving, and learning from others as I work towards making a world in which African Americans can attain their dreams. I would focus not on shifting the obstacles that prevent individual and community success of minorities, but focus on the objections to creating an equitable community that spans to the end of the world, an inclusive community that rejoices and celebrates our differences. And in doing so, we shall learn how to be kind, embracive, accepting, and loving, for we're not strong for what we do for ourselves and our family, but what we do for strangers and the people who have wronged us without expecting anything in return.
My vision is to embody and spread unconditional love that nourishes and heals, to shift me and the people I interact with into a lived freedom grounded in systems, thought, and ways of being, in time with each other, with the land that we build together. I don't have the answers to create a new world, but I look to my Black leaders on how to approach my work with honesty, radical joy, openness, and vulnerability, and where to use my skills in science, math, writing, conversation, and organizing, my access to wealth and privilege. And after today, I want to say that I want to start writing my poetry more about how to specifically talk about how liberation is not going to exist in this system, and to specifically talk about my experience as like someone with wealth and privilege and how that it wasn't free. So thank you for that.
My vision is to leverage my extreme privilege to center the dreams of those most impacted by environmental racism and colonialism, by supporting their reclamation of land and body.
Was that the last vision? Where's your Harvard folks at? Where y'all visions at? All right, well, let's take a moment to just take a deep breath in. That was a lot of heavy stuff. I know that I'm not on video now. I had to go and charge my laptop. But what I do want us to do is if we could just take a moment and close our eyes to kind of close the space. And we're going to take a series of 3 breaths together. The first breath is going to be a gentle breath. The second breath that we're going to take in is going to be a little bit deeper. And then the third breath we're going to take in is going to be as deeply as we can. And we're going to hold that. And then we're going to release as vocally as we can. And you're on mute, so don't matter how vocal you get, scream it out. All right. So I want you to gently close your eyes and imagine a bubble of protection around yourself. My son once said, if I'm breathing in all the positive and breathing out all the negative, am I breathing back in somebody else's negative? So he said that about 6 years old. So have a bubble of protection around yourself. And then we're going to go ahead and take those deep breaths. So the first one, and 5, 6, 7, 8, breathe it in and breathe it out. A little bit deeper and breathe it in together now. And breathe out. Now let's take a pause here. I want you to feel in your body that shift that we were talking about earlier. In that space that we are already free. Harriet Tubman said, my people are free, not that they will be free. So in that space of freedom, the folks that are the revolutionaries that are willing, let's feel it in our bodies and breathe it in. And 1, 2, 3, breathe it in. Now release all that doesn't serve that. And we did it with 3 minutes to spare, y'all. Yes, and if y'all have any questions for Tef and Samora, let's please open up the space. If any questions, how was this process for you? Anything that you would like to, you have some revolutionaries right in front of you. If we're talking about the Black arts movement, here it is right here. I don't believe, I don't really subscribe to time like that. So we always have the past, present, and future happening right now all together. And this is what I want us to just acknowledge. So how was this for folks? Michaela, what's up?
A whole lot is up. Like I'm this is of course felt like a groundbreaking discussion. I want to thank both Tef Poe and Samora for joining us and giving us so much insight, not only into like their own personal journeys, but just life itself, liberation itself. I have so much going through my mind right now. I'm in the midst of writing my thesis, particularly about the use of rap lyrics as evidence in criminal trials. So I'm really, thinking a lot about, the role of art in like liberation, protest, but also just, economic uplift, and particularly how like hegemony and cultural racism acts, within the art world to, strip artists of their ability to create art of their of their impact, so to speak. So I definitely have like a lot to think about after speaking with both of you, and I want to thank you guys for providing this space.
Beautiful, beautiful. William, what's up?
Yeah, I've just been enjoying just all the discussion today. I've been very humbled to be in both of your guys' presence today. So, Tef, it's definitely been a pleasure to hear just your authentic perspective on what the all the types of inequalities and the fallacies that were taught in this country, and just how we move throughout the world with that. And Samora, it's amazing to hear just how you're giving your authentic perspectives as well through your lineage, and just how uh, all of that ties into all of our greater visions in this country, and just achieving greater liberation that's bigger than all of us. So I've just been soaking it all in. And also, Smart, I think it's really cool that we're in Professor Terry's class too. So yeah, it's great to see you here too, man.
You're gonna like hear some random album in like 5 years, and you'll be like, oh, that's all topics from Professor Terry, all the in the class.
Yeah, but I'll be looking out for you. I'll be looking out.
Like Professor Bell says, if you can't use it, why you there?
Yeah.
I don't want none of them projects for these students if they can't use it for the community or for some kind of development in their life. I don't want, who gonna read it?
So it's been a pleasure. It's just been a true pleasure. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful. Milan, you have something to say? You don't have to be on video.
Yes.
Just go ahead.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This has been so wonderful, Tef. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I truly feel like I'm in the presence of someone who witnessed history. I think Dr. Bell put it so incredibly well. So I thank you so much for sharing your story and for hearing that. I know it can be difficult to share, so we're so grateful for your presence in this space, and to hear all of your wonderful, wonderful insights in your art. I'm incredibly grateful. Samora, thank you so much for also sharing your incredible art, and hearing your connections and how you have taken what you've witnessed through the society and how that impacts your radical in-body check-in and how you're checking in on a daily basis. I think that's certainly something I've taken away from this wonderful, wonderful talk today, and just thinking about how I want to check in and how what has been taught to me, how that affects my impulses, my daily thoughts. I'm so grateful for both of you. Thank you for guest lecturing for us today.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I wanted to give one heads up too, but Tef, you can stop me if you're like, don't say this. Tef, we're clearly we're all, here. I think most of us, either current or former students of these two university spaces. And this is already a very particular space, but I've learned a lot from Tef, from how he navigated the Harvard space as a person there now. And he did one of the realest and the best presentations that's ever happened at Harvard. And I think it's on YouTube, right, Tef?
No, look at
it. He took it down.
I'm like, please don't go watch that.
All right, never mind.
No, God. My colloquial met the Hutchins Center. It's on YouTube.
Beautiful. So Caitlin, what's up?
Hello. Just wanted to thank you guys both so much for coming and speaking. A lot of great things said, a lot of stuff just to think about. Yeah, we didn't mention Whose Streets a lot, but I wanted to ask about that. Just the production and the impact of what happened after everything that went down.
I'm gonna let Tef take that one.
It's wild because we both worked on Who Streets in different capacities. I lived it, and he came in and made it make sense. But but it was interesting because you're filming a movie about your life as this is happening, about another person's life who's not here. It was a lot, you know, like it was one of the weirdest things in my life because it's a film made by people that I consider friends, but the social impact of being in a movie like that, you just can't gauge it. You can't gauge how people would perceive it. Some people are like, well, did you have cameras following you the whole damn time trying to make a movie? And then you see people that are in the film. I see them now like in the community, and they don't have cameras around them. And like a lot of people's lives didn't progress in a way that it looked like the movie was taking them towards. You know, there's been some backtracking instead of some forward motion. So yeah, it was just a mad interesting process. It was mad. It was something that I had to learn to live with, and I wasn't really cooperative. The funny part, everybody else might have been a little bit more cooperative towards being filmed than I was. I wasn't the most cooperative person because I was doing a bunch of shit that I didn't want on camera.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think, Nicole, you had something to say?
Oh, yes. I just want to thank you both so much. That was really incredible. I definitely actually have been recently struggling a lot with thinking about how to use my art for liberation instead of like talking just about my life. And I really appreciated what you said, Tef, about how that is inherently, it can be about revolution if you make it that way. And that was really inspiring to me to think about that, because I'm just starting to write a lot of poetry, and I was like, this isn't what I wanted. And that was really helpful to hear. It's pushed me. And thank you both. I don't really have coherent thoughts except that blew me away. To hear two other people have such amazing freedom visions and articulate it so well was just so amazing. And also what you said about safety is illusory in the system, Samora, I was yeah, I once had a friend, one of Dr. Bell's old TAs actually, Maya Perkins, said that certainty is a construct of capitalism. And I definitely I was yeah. And I was I don't know what that means. And I think I'm getting there now. Today, I feel I got a lot closer, and yeah, today was amazing. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
All right, y'all. So if anyone else has one last thing to say, we are just going to take a deep breath together, and then we're going to stop for our talk. And then for Harvard students, we're going to just do some check-ins announcements, but Dartmouth students, you are free to go. But I just want to thank Samora and Tef, and anytime y'all need me for anything, I'm really about that life. So I know, and I have a lot that I'm going to be focusing on right now, especially as it relates to safety. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, maybe that's why I'm ready to risk it all, because I don't know safety. I have been thinking that. I'm just looking around. It was so funny that my student yesterday said to me, he called me the embodiment of freedom in the ways that I move in a lot of ways. And I was like, wow. And, he was talking about the way that I, have been homeschooling Say Johnny since kindergarten. You hear the stuff that comes out of his mouth and, all of these types of things. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, that was the best compliment I've ever gotten. But how or why is it that I am a physical embodiment of freedom to him? And I do think about it. It's I'm ready to risk it all for, a lot of it isn't even for me, which I want to get to that point. It's for you. I want to see us all get free. And what I really mean by, I want genuine freedom and liberation for all. That's why my class is like this. Everything that happened to me in academic hazing will not happen to you if I have any say about it. It stops with me in my classroom. So if you can lean in or you cannot, but I won't be subjected to discipline and punish in my classroom. you know, and so that's what we're doing here. So another thing that another student that just left, I wanted to give her a shout out, but she had another meeting, but she made me a little heart, like crochet heart, and said that I was the physical manifestation of love. And I was like, wow. And, you know, for me, these things, these concepts of freedom and love, I'm always having my students talk about them, but I have never thought about safety. You know, so y'all, this talk today has shifted ways that I'm going to be digging deeper into who I really am. And I've been doing a lot of work with my inner child and trauma and all of these things to get to the core of, you know, why I show up the way that I show up. And so I just want to thank you all, because you're helping me to be a better community organizer. I might not be on the ground in the ways that I used to be, but this is my, you know, bringing the ground to these classes and across institutions. And so thank you.
Hey, Dr.
You're doing it.
Say one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Tef.
You raise a very interesting point that I always try to leave with students, is that the front line is really wherever you make it. In American society, we have this faux disposition with authenticity. The person that inhales the tear gas is the most authentic. The person that gets slapped up is the most authentic. Like, nah, you just the person that got tear gas and the person that got slapped up. That don't make you the most authentic. The front line is wherever you choose to make it. Like you can choose right now to have your space be your personal front line and engage that space in a way that's principled with non-negotiables and things you need in order to strengthen your politics and your daily walk to actually shake things up. Because people don't exist in the spaces that you exist. So we need people that are in those spaces that are like, they don't even know I'm here. But behind the scenes, I'm loosening the bolt on the machine. I'm washing dishes, but I'm dropping the dishes. I'm delivering pizzas, but I'm giving them an extra one because I know they ain't got no damn money. Like, we need, like, the front line is literally wherever the hell you show up at and decide to make it the front line.
I love that. My son is clapping in the background. Oh my God. Go ahead. Samora, you had something to say too, and then we're going to end on what you have to say, Samora.
Nah, I mean, that's it. That's it.
That's it. That is it. All right. So we're going to stop the streaming right now. Thank you so much. This is the end of our talk. For Harvard students, we're going to have an announcement. For Dartmouth students, thank you so much for showing up today and showing up for yourself.